Hello, everyone. This is the yarn we're going to be using for this mermaid's hair. Right now, she looks a little like some kind of mushroom. I like how it has almost a pink undertone. I don't think it's showing up very well on camera, but in real life, it's really warm. It's really nice. I think I'm going to give her pigtails. But first, I want to make the arms. They should be pretty quick, though. It's just a bunch of rows of 6 crochet. This says to wait until you've added the top to attach the arms. And I haven't sewed anything on yet, but I'm definitely going to pin them on. And then I will sew them on after I sew on the top. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've never made a wig like this before. But the wig, I don't know if it's technically called a wig because you're just making her hair. But for the hair, we're going to make like a wig cap and then attach the strands of hair onto it, it looks like. It's really interesting. Whoops, that was the wrong tail. Hold on, let me reattach. With crochet, a lot of times if you mess something up, it's pretty easy to fix. It's very forgiving. I'll clip that off later so that I don't accidentally get the working yarn again. Thanks to everybody who showed up right away, by the way. I know this is early in the morning and a lot of people are probably like at work or school, but even if you're just listening to it in the background, it's nice to have an audience. Okay, that's row 3. These arms aren't going to be super long. They're just going to be like cute and round. I might have to get out my ruler in a little bit just to cut the hair, but I also have one of those flexible measuring tapes that I use for sewing, so that could work too. Gonna leave a long tail so we can sew these on. I'm looking for my sewing needle, which I should really find a better place to put. Maybe I put it in my sewing case thingy. Okay. I announced it in my community tab, but if you're just watching now, you might not have seen it. I recently made a video with some of my coworkers. In case you don't know, I work for a global justice organization called Zero Hour. And recently, me and a couple of other people I work with put together a video that's supposed to be funny, but it's also educational. And I've worked on it for a really long time, so I'll see if I can send it to you guys here. We're a climate advocacy organization. So basically, what I did in this video was I thought about gas. And if you don't know, which it's not your fault, a lot of people don't know. Recently, some people have been deciding, what if we took gas and we made it even worse, even though we know it's very, very polluting and it's making the earth warmer and all this stuff? And that blew my mind. So I was like, I just want to point out how weird this is. Hold on a second. Okay. 1 second. There's the first arm. I don't know if everybody knows what Zero Hour is, but we're mainly a youth-focused climate organization. So And it doesn't necessarily just mean like, haha, cool, party youth or whatever. It just means like young people. Like a lot of us started as teenagers. And we're obviously like, we welcome like adults who support us and stuff. But since we're like, why we're youth focused is we get affected by things like excess heat, there's weather changes, there's more flooding, all that stuff because of climate change, but we didn't cause it. We haven't been alive long enough to contribute to that pollution. So we're having to deal with effectively the effects of other people's choices. And even though we're getting the most strongly affected by it, we are not usually like heard in political spaces or organizing spaces. And we are trying to prop those people up. But even if like you don't know that much about this stuff, I also want this to be like funny and help teach people even if they don't have a background in climate activism. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. Okay, a quick thing. When I finish this row, I'm going to have to go take out my dog real quick, but I'll be back in just a few minutes. Another thing I'm really curious about is a lot of stuff in the crafting space, at least that I can access, is like different forms of plastic. And plastic is just hardened oil. And I'm like, we made crafts for thousands of years without plastic. I'm very sure we can do it again. Like a lot of yarn is made of polyester. As a kid, I had no clue what that meant. But then when I was older, I was like, wait, polyester is just a type of fabric. Sorry, polyester is just another type of plastic. Acrylic, just another type of plastic. And like, you don't need plastic to make like really soft yarn. There's other ways to do it. And I personally probably couldn't change the way the entire crafting industry works, but I want to help with that. Okay? 1, 2, 3. I'll be back in just a minute. For anyone new here, I have to go take out my dog and I'll be right back. And I'm back. I've never really used this color combination before, and I'm not sure if I'll use it again, at least not with these exact yarn, just because I'm running out of some of them. But I like that this pattern is really small. I feel like you could make a lot of little mermaids. So I wonder, like, if you guys made a mermaid with this pattern, like, what would it look like? What colors would you use? So I'm not using my own pattern here. I put the pattern in the description of this. I think I can put it in the chat too. So I don't think I'll make a tutorial. But if you want to use this pattern, you can find it on Ravelry. It's just a couple of dollars. And it's on the author's website too. I could, in the future though, I could probably do something that's just like just explaining the very basic stuff of crochet. There's a lot of stuff that like I occasionally forget to explain just because I've been doing it for a long time. But, you know, that stuff's important to explain. It's like with driving, it's the basics. Another thing that I do when I'm making two of something, they need to look the same, is I'll just like hold them up next to each other and see if they're like the same length. Okay. The pattern is here. I think we need just one more row on the arm. Recently I've been watching Chibidoki, which is a thing that I often do. And like she's so funny. And like she's really creative. The ability to like roll with what Chad is saying and add a new joke to it, that's a skill. That's called yes anding, that people will use in improvised comedy, for example. That is not easy to do. She's very good at it. And it's also really cool to me, like her community is so creative. Like I love her meme reviews and stuff. They always come up with something new. This is, I don't remember exactly what it's called. I think people call it different things. So this is like an invisible fasten off. So it'll just look like another stitch. I'm intentionally leaving this long so that I can sew the arm on later. Okay. I think those are at about the same place on either side of her body. T-posing to assert dominance. Okay. So next we're going to start making the hair. So first we're going to make it's called the scalp, but it looks like a little wig cap, like a little swim cap that you put on her head, and then you add the actual hair on top of it. I'm going to be using this yarn. Okay. So this is a magic ring, and it's hard to show because I have to hold onto it with my finger. But basically all that means is you take your working yarn and you make a little loop where the side that is attached to the ball, which is called the working yarn, is folded over the end. And then, where did I get the page? I printed out the pattern. And then you stick your crochet hook into the loop and you hold on to it so that it doesn't unravel, and then you start stitching. But here I need to make 6. Okay, I actually need to make 8 single crochet. How you do that is you stick your crochet hook under the working yarn. Well, technically you put the yarn over it. It's called a yarn over. Then you grab this, which is the rest of the working yarn. You pull it through. Now you have 2 loops on the hook. Then you pull through another loop. Ta-da! There might be other people that can explain it better, but there are lots of people that make tutorials and stuff. Like, I learned from a picture book. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's add 2 more. Okay, so now we're gonna do 2 single crochet in each stitch around. So each time you get to a new stitch, instead of doing just 1 stitch in it, you do 2. And we'll end this row with 16. 6, 7, 8. That's 6 so far. Okay. Okay. Now let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 18, 19. Okay, so we need to end with 16. 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, I just miscounted. Now we're going to do single crochet. I'm going to do 2 single crochet in one stitch and then just 1 crochet in the other. And we'll keep doing that. 2 single crochet in one stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next. And that's just going to be a pattern until we're done this row, and we should end with 24. A goal that I have as a YouTuber is I want just some guy without a mustache to comment on one of my videos, at least one, you know? That would be cool. After this, we're going to need to do 3 rows of just half double crochet around. No, actually it's 4 rows, but yeah. And then we're just going to check to see if this fits on the doll, and if it does, then we can add the actual hair. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 9, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Okay, good. So a half double crochet is where you do this. You yarn over and you stick the crochet hook into the next stitch. You yarn over again and pull it through. And then you yarn over again and you pull that yarn through all 3 loops on the hook. And we're going to do this for a little while. So you can see right now this doesn't really go around the head, it just goes on top of the head. So we're going to keep adding until it looks like a little hat. You know what this says? This says to just follow like the pictures to add the pigtails, but it's not making any sense to me. So I wonder if we could just give her like long hair instead. Although I might be, okay, maybe he's just looking at it oddly. Another thing that I like about using a pattern is you don't have to do it like exactly the same way as the pattern author did. Like you can innovate a little. Like I put the eyes a little further apart, and I'm obviously using different colors. So it's fun to see how different people interpret the same prompt. One. Later this week, I'm going to be doing some watercolor painting, and I am very excited. It's one of my favorite kinds of painting. I almost wonder if this is too big, but it looks smaller when you put it on the head. See? Boop. I think I need to set it farther back on the head too. Boop, boop. I didn't realize just how many little pieces there were to this design. And it's really cool to me. Like, look, there's the ruffle, there's the fin, there's the top, there's both arms and the hair. It's more complex than I realized. I think that's why it's taking a little while. But I like it. I think it's going to look cool when it's done. Especially because in a smaller design, those little details will show up. Like, if you have a design and it's small, what would ordinarily might look like something you wouldn't notice, which in this case might be like the tail ruffle. You're going to see that. So everything is balanced really well, and that's not easy to do. This says, like, I'm looking ahead at the part where we make the actual hair strands. It says cut a few 10-inch strands of yarn depending on the thickness of your yarn and your preferred style. This yarn is not very thick, so I think I'll probably need to get out more than just a few. But I also don't want to add too many, so I think I'll just keep like I'll cut some and see how they look, and if there's not enough, I'll add more, things like that. It also says to sew or knot the pigtails secure. I feel like a knot you would see because this is such a small project, so I think I'll sew them. See, it's starting to look more like a hat now. This looks almost too big, so I'm gonna try it on once I'm done finish this row. What would you name this mermaid? Okay. Need to put it on a little bit on the back of the head. Okay. I think we can afford to add another row. Although, it's all the way down to the back of the head. This might be plenty big enough. If anything, I need it to be a bit longer up here, so let's try it. It could be fun to give her like super long hair, like a cape. Okay, about halfway down this row. Okay, now let's fasten this off. Or, well, let's try it on first, just in case. I usually put the part where I fasten off in the back so no one will see it, just in case it gets messy. This is it seems a little big, but as in like it's too big around, and I don't really know what to do with that, so I might just like fold it or stuff it a little bit. I'm going to be sewing it down anyway. Okay, now let's fasten it off. I'm going to need to pin this on too, aren't I? I don't have that many pins, guys. I might have to sew some other stuff on first. Okay. Let's start with the top. And I might not have enough yarn left over to sew it all on, just with the tail, but I can always get more. Trying to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I think a lot of times with crochet, the overall look is what's most important, so I try not to worry if every single thing looks super neat. Thank you. I did do it pretty fast, but that's only because I've been doing it for a long, long time. Don't worry if you can't do it that quickly right away. Okay. The clothes almost look oversized, and that's not really a criticism, but I think it's cute because this is such like a small project. It's almost like when you're wearing like a really big sweater and like the sleeves go over your hands. I'm gonna pin this other arm a little more in place because it keeps moving around. Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna need to get some more yarn in it. I'm glad I found this use for it because I don't use that exact shade of purple very often. If I can't find it, I might use one of my others because they look pretty similar. Okay. I might also just use the yellow to sew this part down so it doesn't stand out too much. Okay. I'm trying not to get too tangled with all my other, like, sewing strands. I usually sew things in stages, but this time I wanted to do it all at once. Oops. I'm gonna take out this pin too because we don't need it anymore and I don't want to catch my yarn on it. Okay. I'm trying to hide the tail ends from when I was making this underneath at the top, but they might stick out a little bit, although they're not that visible. It'll really be a problem. I make mermaids on here a lot because I like them, but they're obviously not the only thing I make. Like later this week, I'm gonna be painting a little sculpture I made that's gonna be on Thursday at 5 o'clock, although we're gonna be having some rough weather, so we might lose internet. I might have to reschedule it. And tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm gonna be doing a painting. I'm gonna be painting Miku. It's always really cool to me to sew all the pieces of a project together because I feel like then it comes to life and it looks like a whole character. Okay. 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 Now I'm going to go back to the other side and sew this down a little more and fasten this off.